Hello everyone, Storm1 here. Today we'll be tracking another potentially major winter storm that'll be going on across the Severed Plains. Probably some of the same areas as the last one, pretty much, as you could put it that way. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be talking about today. We're gonna get started with the watch warning map, and you can see here some of the same areas under a winter storm warning. You got most of Oklahoma in it, except for the Oklahoma Panhandle. You got winter storm warnings for eastern Texas, northern Louisiana, northern Mississippi, all of Arkansas again. In western Tennessee, we got winter weather advisories across central and southern Missouri, southeastern Kansas, a few counties out across eastern Texas. I mean western Texas. In these purple areas, these are actually hard freeze warnings. So yeah, it's going to get really cold across those regions. So expect a hard freeze. And then later down the road, these areas in blue here, these are winter storm watches, which eventually for some of these places it's going to be expected to either turn into a winter storm warning or an ice storm warning. Some of these places could see another potentially nasty ice storm with this storm system as well. So let's go to get started with the high-res NAM, which done a decent job, but also still do terrible. The models on the last event, mainly across the Ohio Valley, did pretty bad. I ain't gonna lie. But the better models, the models have done the best job was the highest name and the name with that Northwest trend, which we all thought that it was kind of a bias with the model. We were wrong about that. So we may have to use the high-res NAM and the NAM for this one. We'll probably have to use the HER model for the short range. It does a decent job on the short range, but in the long range, it did not do a good job. So let's look into the high-res NAM, and as you can see here, as we move it to Wednesday, really early Wednesday morning, very early. You can see here we got a band of moderate to heavy snow across most of Oklahoma, a good chunk of Kansas, um, eventually getting into southern Missouri and most of Arkansas. This is all going to be moving east and northeast here. And then this is going to be quite a nasty ice storm, again, for some of the same areas just off the screen there for northern Louisiana, southeastern Texas, and eventually getting into western Mississippi. And that's what some of those winter storm warnings are for, which I think it's going to be more suitable for an ice storm warning than a winter storm warning. Although I don't know if they're even capable to issue ice storm warnings or not. I have no idea. But it's going to be another nasty ice storm for some of those folks down there. Ice accumulations could be up to 3/4 of an inch in some places. Now, getting into Wednesday evening, we got some snow showers, some snow bands that across portions of Kentucky into West Virginia, even across Indiana and southern Ohio. And you can see here we got a pretty good band of moderate to heavy snow on the cold side of things. Meanwhile, kind of between the cold sector and the warm sector, you got freezing rain, which could be heavy at times. You know, watch this as it kind of moves to the northeast here, and it looks like it may come in two different waves here. There may be coming into two different waves. We're going to see there about that. Good news here is it seems like some of your freezing rain threat kind of dissipates as it gets into a little bit more into Tennessee and Kentucky. Some of these areas do not need any more ice, especially across southeastern Kentucky. If there's going to be another ice storm happening with this storm system, it's going to be their third one in the last 2 weeks, and that's pretty bad. And it gets even worse as we get later down the road. Now, this is getting into Thursday morning, afternoon. We got just off the screen here across Virginia in northern North Carolina, portions of West Virginia. It's going to be experiencing some sleet and freezing rain. Hopefully, this all comes as sleet. Uh, that'll be your lifesaver from freezing rain here, because freezing rain accumulations may be significant for some of those areas as well. You can see here, then it kind of moves off the screen there. And we got some bands of snow just behind us as well. Could bring up a little bit more on some of the snowfall accumulations. As well, it looks like the small is hitting on maybe another low developing right down there. That'll be interesting to watch to see what could happen there. They may be able to give a chance for some of those folks down there to get maybe a little bit more snow. We're gonna see what the trends are gonna be with that system, but We'll see about that. But other than that, this is looking to be a pretty bad storm. Now, let's go to get started moving on to some of the models here. With Snowfall tools, this is the 21Z Rapid Refresh, which did not do a good job on the last event, just to warn you guys. But you can see here, it's a little bit further south than what the other models are showing. You got areas of the purple that's over 6 inches of snow. It's got some places picking up a little over a foot across northern Mississippi. I think that's too far south. I think this is going to be a little bit more to northwest. Also, I think that's going to be a little bit overdone across those regions. You got another area of 6 to 10 inches of snow across southeastern Kentucky. Uh, then you got northern Virginia, eastern West Virginia, most of Maryland, northern Delaware, most of New Jersey, and southeastern New York, as well, and even Long Island too. Was there some uncertainties when some of the snow kind of gets offshore or whatever? You got models that's much further to the north. We're just going to see about that. There's a whole lot of uncertainty going on with that. And you can see here, here's the NAM with this one. And this is one of the models that done the best job on the last system. You can see here it's quite different. It's actually further to the northwest. But we've been seeing some better adjustments with these models here. They're getting a little bit better adjusted with this. So you can see here there's a band of 5 to 8 inches of snow across portions of Kentucky, central and eastern Kentucky to be more Pacific. Even across around Nashville, I don't think you guys will be seeing 8 inches of snow. I don't see that happening across those regions there. Uh, West Virginia, some of those higher elevations could see over a foot. Similar situation when we get into portions of Maryland, eventually getting into southern and eastern New Jersey. I'm in Pennsylvania, and even including northern New Jersey and southern New York State. Snowfall amounts start to calm down as you get into Connecticut, Rhode Island, and also Massachusetts as well. And when we move on to the high-res NAM, which was the model that we're showing earlier there, which looks to be probably the most realistic in my opinion here than the other models. You can see here you got some places picking up a little over a foot of snow. I think that's going to be overdone in some of those areas there. I don't think areas will be 16 inches of snow in some of those places. I don't think that's going to happen. But you see a band of 6 to 8, 9 inches of snow, really anywhere from south central Kentucky into uh, even southeastern Ohio may even have a chance to see some snow. And honestly, some of these places, especially eastern Kentucky, do not need any more snow. It is getting so bad. I'm pretty sure the total ice depth in those places is over an inch of ice on trees and power lines. There's some major power outage issues across eastern Kentucky. They do not need any snow. They better hope for sleet because snow, wherever it's going to stick onto trees and power lines, that's going to cause more power outages and more tree damage out there. They do not need any more snow. And that's probably the first time you ever heard me say that they don't need any snow or anything, or we don't need any snow. I mean, it's just getting really bad over there as well. And you can see here, pretty widespread high snowfall totals across a good chunk of Pennsylvania and even New Jersey as well, even around New York City, possibly 8, 9 inches of snow around New York City, so and even for portions of Connecticut as well. Here's the GFS model. I think this is going to be kind of an outlier here. At least this is looking to be an outlier. This is kind of one of the models that shows this system here to probably continue a little bit further up along the northeast seaboard here. You can see here some very high snowfall totals across really most of the northeast, New York State, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, and also portions of Maine, which is off the screen there. But even for some of the higher elevations across West Virginia, Virginia, and Maryland into Pennsylvania, some places will be able to have the chance to see over a foot of snow across those regions. Back across to Kentucky, you got some places picking up to 5 inches of snow. Around Nashville, about 2 inches of snow there as well. This is the last one we're going to take a look at too. Snowfall map wise, this is the 10-to-1 ratio. This is the furthest southeast out of the rest of the models here. I'm sure people in Washington D.C. hope for this model to be verifying. It did not do a good job either. This was actually the furthest east model from the last event. Even though it was well updated to the event, it was still quite too far to the east. So I'm not buying this right now. I think this is going to be a little bit further to the northwest than what it is showing here from the European model. Also, there's probably going to be some isolated higher spots. I mean, with the catch area ratio, there's probably going to be a slightly higher ratio for Snowfall. This is only at a 10-to-1 ratio across some of these regions here because the air is going to get, especially across some of these areas back in here, it's going to get really cold across some of those regions. So your catch area ratio may be a little bit higher than normal, which most people usually use 10-to-1 ratio. So let's talk about that ice situation across North Carolina and Virginia. And you can see here about the NAM, some significant ice amounts, unfortunately, spitting out from the NAM, although these balls typically overdo the ice amounts, and they've done that every single event. So take that as a grain of salt with the ice totals, ice accumulations, I should say, out across these regions here. You can see here, even up across the two near Philadelphia, as well, Washington, D.C., very close to New York City, could be seeing some ice accumulations as well. But then again, it's going to be overdone. Take this, probably about half an inch of ice across these regions here. That's probably what you could get. Unless if it transitions or stays at sleet, which is the best case scenario. And if it stays at sleet, the worst case scenario is you get all freezing rain. The sleet will definitely kill the freezing rain potential. I mean, you could get a lot of sleet out of it. Could be at least an inch of sleet in some spots, but it's much better than just getting half an inch of ice or from freezing rain. Higher NAM, basically the same thing, although it did show some freezing it's sleet mixing in across these regions here, so some of these ice totals may not be that accurate. But we're going to see here. Unfortunately, so far for people in North Carolina, some of these totals have been moving a little bit further to the south as well, which is not good for some of these places as well. So, since you guys will be looking to be experiencing an ice storm, unfortunately, just be prepared for a power outage, which I know some of these areas did get hit hard by an ice storm not too long ago. Looks like some of these same places will be getting hit hard by this ice storm, but hopefully it will stay as mostly sleek. That'd be the best case scenario, and that will kill the ice accumulations here. So let's take a look to the weather predictor. These here are the chances for how much snow you could possibly get. And you can see here they have pretty high confidence in a lot of these places. Now this is for at least 2 inches of snow. And as you can see here, when we get a different color, we'll do blue. You see here now this is for next 3 days. They got pretty much nearly everybody in Northeast 90-95% chance. That's a pretty high chance. There's high confidence there, but we've been starting to see a shift in the model, so some of those percentages will actually probably go down. We're going to see what's going to happen there. Arkansas into Oklahoma also got a pretty good chance as well. Areas of the orange, like portions of Kentucky, 80-90% chance of seeing at least 2 inches of snow. Now this is at least 4 inches of snow. It's going to give a moment. Chances are going to go down a little bit as we kind of go up to some of these higher snowfall totals. Looks like it went away. Please come back. There we go. You get areas across eastern Oklahoma and most of Arkansas. 70-80% chance. Kentucky, 60-70, 50-60. Northeast got a pretty good probability, 80-90%. Some places getting to 90-95% chance. Although that may change, but higher elevations may stay the same. This is for actually at least 8 inches of snow. Central Arkansas could be ranging from 1% chance to maybe a 30% chance. Central Kentucky could be anywhere from 1% to 10% chance. You get up into the northeast, you got some places get as high as a 70% chance. This is at least a foot of snow. Wait for this to load. Or unless it's got nobody under at least a chance for a foot of snow. I don't think there is. Yeah, by the looks of it, doesn't look like they have a probability for at least a foot of snow. So let's move on to freezing rain here. Now this is a probability to get at least a tenth of an inch of ice, which we'll view on some of these areas here. Got pretty good probability here. Uh, Areas in red that could be anywhere from 90 to 100% chance, which includes eastern Texas, north Louisiana, southeastern Arkansas. Got another area across north central North Carolina and also into central Virginia as well. Now this is at least a quarter of an inch of ice. Still got a pretty high probability. Areas of the orange, that's 80 to 90%. Eastern Texas, well, east central Texas, northern Louisiana, you got pretty much south central Virginia, and also kind of going along the North Carolina border. This is at least half an inch of ice. Still got a pretty good probability. Looks to be 60 to 70% chance across northern Louisiana, and also pretty good probability across southern Virginia. Then at least an inch of ice. Doesn't look like nobody's going to get it, which is good news. At least an inch of ice, that is just going to be catastrophic ice. But unfortunately, the ice depth may actually reach to that point, and that's going to be the bad news there as well. So this is for the next 48 hours for the National Forest Service. This is the snowfall forecast. Doesn't quite match up, but I do expect this to probably change around some when they probably have better confidence here. You can see here just off the screen there, some of those higher elevations could be up to 6 inches. Central and southwestern Kentucky, 4 or 5 inches of snow. Pretty good area in most of Arkansas. Surprisingly enough, 7 to 8 inches of snow. It doesn't really gonna match up with my forecast, which I'll show you guys that in a moment. You got eastern Oklahoma, uh, also experiencing some places to be able to get up to 8 inches of snow there as well. This is the impacts here. You can see here areas in the red. Major impacts could be expected for a good chunk of Arkansas, and you got northeast Louisiana, and also west central Mississippi. Areas in the orange, these are going to be moderate impacts. I do expect this moderate impact zone to maybe expand across some of these regions here. We're going to see about that. I think it's just really going to depend on confidence across those regions there. But you can also see here the chance for moderate impacts across uh, really scattered places in Virginia and Maryland as well. So here's my first call snowfall forecast. Take this as a grain of salt. Models been doing bad for the last couple of days. So just take this as a grain of salt. Don't have a whole lot of confidence in this forecast, so we'll just go from west to east here. Um, there is going to be probably a line somewhere in here that some places could see 5 to 8. There may be isolated 8 plus in some places. We're just going to have to see about that. Um, then you got 3 to 5 inches for most of Arkansas into several Missouri as well. 3 to 5 inches. Areas of this light blue here are cyan. That's 1 to 3. And then coding to 1 over most of Missouri. Most of these places will be experiencing some snow showers and snow flurries. Since the air is going to be so cold, very little amount of moisture could spit out a few snowflakes. I mean, it's just the air is just going to be that cold across these regions here. Moving a little bit into the northeast here, you got Nashville. I think you guys could expect to see 3 to 5 inches of snow. Then we get into back into the dark blue here. Somebody in here may be able to get over 5 inches at least in some of these places. We're glad to see about that, which includes central and northeastern Kentucky, where some of these places actually do not need any snow. That's just going to add more weight onto power lines and trees. Could cause some more power outages out there. Moving into Ohio, really the eastern half, maybe 3 to 5 inches, and then western, northwestern Ohio, 1 to 3. Although southeastern Ohio may actually have a chance to see over 5 inches of snow with that northwest trend just a little bit. especially for the NAM models. We're going to have to see about that. Then there's going to be an area here. This is mostly going to be for higher elevations, 8 to 12 inches, and there will be some isolated over a foot in some places. And then you kind of go into most of Pennsylvania, could see 5 to 8 inches of snow. Unfortunately for Washington, D.C., there's going to be a pretty sharp cutoff here, which is going to be pretty difficult to forecast. It always has been that way. To uh, Really, the sharp cutoffs are usually going to be very hard to forecast. So, really, the track of the low, all of these totals here is going to shift depending on the track of the low. So, it's going to be pretty tough to forecast right now. Washington, D.C., possibly another snow hole we're going to see. But hopefully, you guys can at least get a snowstorm before this winter season's done. And this honestly may be the last winter storm. Um, this may be the last one for some of these areas here. We'll be going on a warming trend, and then severe weather season, which there's been a high demand from you guys to have me have an update on the severe weather season, which I'll be talking about them maybe this weekend. We're going to see, and I'll probably add in a forecast as well. It may be the only one. We will see about that. It's getting that time of year where we start to talk a little bit more about severe weather. Speaking about severe weather, unfortunately, we did have a couple of significant tornadoes. One of them was actually around Wilmington, which I believe they rated that as an EF3 tornado. And then we have one somewhere in southern Georgia. Cannot remember the city name, but there was an EF2 tornado. They're still surveying that, and I'm sure there was a couple other tornadoes across some of these other areas as well that I do not know of. But yeah, there's been some a couple bad tornadoes down there across southeast yesterday and also last night. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you really do like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, you can put in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.